Imagine doing everything exactly the way society tells you. Like you're bringing flowers, you're paying for the expensive dates, texting back immediately, making your intentions crystal clear, and you still end up getting ghosted.
Meanwhile, there's a guy who puts in almost zero effort, leaves things completely undefined, and she is just obsessing over him 5 years later.
Yeah, it's the ultimate paradox in modern dating.
Yeah.
And the harsh reality is that most men just don't realize they're actively killing attraction by over-campaigning for a relationship.
Right.
They think they're doing the right thing, They think they're playing by the rules we were all taught growing up, but they're actually suffocating the exact psychological tension that's required to build genuine, burning desire.
I mean, I see this literally every day. Guys come to me completely burned out. They're looking at this bizarre landscape out there where men are constantly told to pursue heavily, right? To make their intentions known, to man up and chase the woman.
Exactly, the whole man up narrative. Yeah, but yet the men who actually win in this environment, the men who are constantly on the minds of these women, are the ones who completely refuse to beg for attention. They're the ones pulling back.
Because the advice being handed down to men is fundamentally flawed. I mean, it completely ignores human behavioral psychology. We see this narrative floating around everywhere today.
Oh, everywhere.
You hear women complaining constantly that men in 2026 are just lazy. They say things like, guys won't take me out unless I make it super convenient for them. And they argue that the best dynamic is when the man puts in way more effort in the beginning to pursue her.
To win her over.
Right. They want the grand gestures, the constant pursuit, the absolute certainty that you were trying to win them over.
And it sounds perfectly logical on the surface. You hear that exact scenario all the time. A woman says she wants a partner, she wants companionship, but she's frustrated because she feels like if she doesn't make it perfectly easy for the guy, he just won't bother. So she concludes, men are just lazy now. She believes a relationship is only valid if the man is working overtime to prove his worth early on. But I want to break down why this is so dangerous for a guy to buy into.
Well, it's a psychological trap, and it's so effective because it appeals directly to a man's natural, evolutionary desire to provide and protect. When a man likes a woman, his instinct is to solve her problems, right? To make her comfortable, to show he has resources.
Yeah, the provider instinct.
Exactly. But you have to analytically break down what happens when you follow that script in the initial dating phase. Like if a woman demands that you put in all the effort to pursue her early on, if she requires you to drive to her side of town, pay for the expensive dinner, double text her to keep her attention, and constantly validate her just to get a single date.
Which is super common now.
Very common. But if you do that, it sets a permanent precedent for the entire dynamic of the relationship.
Wait, I want to stick on that word precedent because I think guys miss this entirely. When you do all that jumping through hoops on day one, you are essentially establishing your baseline value as being lower than hers.
Yes.
You're saying, I have to make up the difference in our inherent value by performing for you.
That is exactly what is happening on a subconscious level. You're communicating through your actions that her mere presence is so valuable that you're willing to exhaust your time, your money, your emotional energy just to be near her. And if you establish that dynamic in week one, you will always be the one working harder.
You can't ever undo it.
No, you can't. 5 years down the line, if you even make it that far, you will still be the one campaigning for her affection. The dynamic is baked in from the first interaction. You're establishing yourself as the seeker, and her as the prize. And once a woman categorizes you as the seeker, she just cannot feel the necessary biological tension required for attraction.
I have to stop you there, though, because I can hear the objection from guys listening right now. My entire life, every romantic comedy, every piece of dating advice from female friends has told me the exact opposite.
Of course it has.
Right. So if I have 100 other guys competing for her attention on her phone, don't I need to do something extra to show I'm serious? Shouldn't a guy want to make an effort to stand out from the crowd?
It's a completely fair question, and it's the reason so many guys get stuck. But we have to draw a massive critical line between confident interest and begging.
Okay, break that down.
Confident interest is masculine. It's saying, I'd like to see you. Let's grab a drink on Thursday at 7 at this place. It's decisive. Begging, on the other hand, is saying, I'd really love to see you. Whatever works for your schedule, I can come to you. I know you're super busy. Just let me know if you have a free hour.
Oh man, I cringe just hearing that.
Right, it's the energy behind the action. It is the subtle communication of scarcity versus abundance. And here is the fascinating part about human psychology. When men refuse to do that immature song and dance of over-pursuing, women are genuinely shocked.
Because they never see it.
Exactly. It completely short-circuits their expectations because they are so used to men bending over backwards for a single crumb of attention.
I've actually seen this play out in real time, and the reaction is incredible. There's this great example of a woman who was on the phone with a guy, and they were in that early talking stage.
Okay.
She was playing that playful, slightly entitled game, testing his boundaries. She jokingly threatens him, says something like, "Watch out, I'm coming for you." A typical guy trying to appease her would laugh, play along, try to be witty to keep the banter going.
Naturally.
And this guy, he doesn't laugh, he doesn't play along, he just simply hangs up the phone.
And let me guess, she probably lost her mind trying to figure out what just happened.
Completely baffled. It drove her crazy in the best way possible.
Mm.
She could not stop thinking about it. Or, I'll give you another example I saw recently. A guy goes on a first date, and the woman, playing coy and fishing for compliments, says she actually likes guys who are a little bit mean to her.
A classic Tess.
Right. So the guy looks at her calmly and says, "Listen, I want to tell you that you look pretty tonight, but I haven't, because you said you like it when men are mean to you." He intentionally withholds the exact validation she was fishing for, using her own rules against her.
That is brilliant behavioral mirroring right there. He is holding a mirror up to her game. By refusing to give her the compliment she was trying to extract, he demonstrates that he isn't desperate for her approval.
Yeah.
He isn't going to campaign for her validation. He is showing that he has emotional self-control. And emotional self-control is incredibly attractive because it signals to her subconscious that this is a man who is grounded, a man who has options, and a man who cannot be easily manipulated.
And if you're listening to this, you have probably felt that exact pressure to perform on a first date. I know I used to feel it. That tightness in your chest where you feel like you need to entertain her, impress her, keep the conversation flowing seamlessly so she doesn't get bored and look at her phone.
Like you're a dancing monkey.
Exactly. It feels like you're tap dancing on a stage. But when you understand the mechanics of what we're talking about here, dropping that performance changes everything.
Yep.
When you stop acting like you're on a job interview, desperately hoping for a callback, the entire power dynamic flips.
And when a critical mass of men start doing this, which is what we're seeing happen now, it fundamentally disrupts the modern dating market. We've established that men are increasingly stepping back from this hyper-pursuit model, but when you look at how this shift is playing out on a macro scale, it exposes a massive double standard and a complete lack of understanding from the other side.
Yeah, the confusion is wild.
Because if a man realizes that heavy effort doesn't trigger attraction, his immediate logical response is to withdraw that effort.
Which brings us to a massive cultural shift. We really need to look at the historical context of this to understand why women are so confused by men pulling back today. Because the culture wasn't always like this. Back in the day, the societal script was literally built around the begging man.
Oh, totally.
Think about the movies we all grew up watching in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
A man would beg a woman for a date. If she said no, he didn't respect the rejection. He tried harder. He'd stand outside her window with the boombox in the pouring rain.
Which today gets you a restraining order.
Exactly. But back then, it was romantic. If they went on a first date and she wasn't feeling it, he'd beg for a redo to prove himself. Even in marriages, if a woman cheated or acted terribly, the cultural narrative often portrayed the noble man begging her to stay, promising he would be better, promising to win her back.
It's the persistence narrative.
Yeah.
The Hollywood idea that if you just wear her down with your unwavering devotion, she'll eventually have an epiphany and realize your true value.
Right.
But the return on investment for that behavior in today's landscape is essentially zero. Emotionally, socially, financially, it's actually a negative return. Today, the dynamic has completely flipped because men have started to realize that their time, their attention, and their dignity are valuable assets.
They're tired of wasting them?
Exactly. You cannot negotiate genuine desire. You cannot convince someone to be physically and emotionally drawn to you through sheer persistence. It just doesn't work.
So the result is that now, if a woman says no to a date, or if she acts distant, or if she starts playing hot and cold games over text, a self-respecting man just says, "Nah, I'm good," and walks away.
Yep.
And this completely and utterly baffles women. You see them posting online all the time now, highly confused, practically in tears, asking, "Why did he just stop trying? I told him I was busy this weekend and he just unmatched me." It bothers them to their core when a man simply accepts a rejection and moves on instead of chasing.
It bothers them because we are dealing with an economy of ego. For a lot of modern dating interactions, especially in those early stages, The woman's validation doesn't actually come from going on the date with the man.
That's a huge point.
It comes from the man's willingness to pursue her despite her throwing up roadblocks. The roadblock is the test. When a man says, okay, no problem, and walks away, he completely deprives her of that ego boost.
He takes the validation right off the table.
Right. He is communicating, my time is too valuable to waste on someone who isn't enthusiastic about seeing me. And that action absolutely shatters her illusion of choice and control.
Which leads directly into this incredibly common and frankly ridiculous narrative you hear all the time now. It's this massive complaint where women claim that dating in 2026 is totally impossible because their options are supposedly strictly binary.
Ah, yes, the two options.
They say, I either have to date a really hot guy who is a complete sociopath, or I have to settle for a super nice, safe guy who is a mama's boy and won't provide or take charge.
It is a fascinating psychological defense mechanism. And I want you to notice the sheer lack of accountability in that specific mindset. When a woman says those are her only two options, she is taking the behavior of a very specific, narrow sliver of men she is actively choosing to pursue, and she's projecting it onto the entire male population.
It's unbelievable.
It is a way of saying, my choices aren't the problem, the entire gender is broken.
And it's amazing because it completely ignores how men approach the exact same problem. When men date a variety of women, and it fails, men generally have the logical self-awareness to recognize they dated different types of women with different flaws.
Right.
A guy will look at his past and say, okay, I dated the party girl, she was chaotic, that didn't work. I dated the obsessed workaholic, we never saw each other, that didn't work. He analyzes the archetype.
Yeah, he takes accountability for his selection.
But women will continuously date the exact same archetype of guy.
Yeah.
The top-tier, hyper-attractive guy with endless options. And when he acts exactly like a guy with endless options, they throw their hands up and declare it's an all-guys problem.
Let's break down the mechanics of this, because it's rooted in something called the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, which in modern dating apps has skewed even further. It's closer to a 9-55 rule now.
Yeah, the data on that is insane.
It is. The vast majority of female attention is concentrated on the top 5% of men. And you have to understand why that top-tier guy behaves like a quote-unquote sociopath in her eyes. It's not that he actually has antisocial personality disorder. It's that he operates from a place of absolute abundance.
He just doesn't care.
He doesn't need to campaign for her. He doesn't need to text her back within 5 minutes to ensure she doesn't lose interest. He doesn't need to lock her down into a committed relationship because he literally has 3 other women on his phone eager to come over.
Right.
His lack of anxiety is interpreted by her as a lack of empathy, hence the sociopath label.
So when you're listening to this, and you hear female friends or women online complaining about men today, you really have to anchor yourself in reality. They are almost always complaining about a very narrow, top-tier percentage of men they are chasing who simply refuse to commit to them.
Yes.
They aren't talking about you, the regular guy who has a good job, goes to the gym, and is trying to build a genuine connection. You are invisible in this complaint. They're talking exclusively about the guys who treat them as an option.
And this brings us to a really crucial tipping point. If women are spending their prime dating years almost exclusively chasing these top-tier guys who won't commit, their perception of reality becomes incredibly distorted.
Oh, massively distorted.
They get used to dictating terms to the guys they aren't really attracted to, the guys trapped in their friend zone, the beta orbiters, the guys who are constantly swiping up on their Instagram stories with heart eyes emojis. With those guys, she is the absolute authority.
She calls all the shots.
Exactly. But when she actually bumps into a guy she genuinely desires, someone who is on her level or higher in the dating marketplace, she completely short-circuits. She expects him to behave like the orbiters, and when he doesn't, her reality fractures.
There is this highly specific story that perfectly illustrates this reality check. Let's call it the Hinge story.
I love this one.
It's so good. So a woman decides she's going to get back on Hinge after a break. She's swiping, and she matches with a guy she describes as incredibly hot, nice, and really funny. They have great banter, they are clicking, and they plan to meet up for a date. The tension is building.
Sounds perfect so far.
Right. But the day of the date rolls around, and he sends her a message saying, I don't know, it's kind of weird to be meeting someone off an app. He basically gets cold feet or loses interest and cancels on her.
Now, the cancellation itself happens all the time in modern dating, but her reaction is the critical data point we need to analyze here.
Exactly. Her reaction is totally disproportionate. She gets absolutely furious. She messages back aggressively saying, what are you doing here? I don't want a pen pal. She gets so violently angry and flustered that she deletes the app entirely and declares to her followers that dating is entirely out for the rest of the year.
Over one canceled date.
Over a guy she hasn't even met. She's completely devastated and deregulated by this single cancellation.
Let's deeply analyze the psychology of her reaction. Why is she so intensely furious? It is not just disappointment over a canceled date. You don't delete an app and swear off men for a year just because you got stood up.
Right, that's not normal behavior.
What she experienced was profound ego injury, specifically a form of narcissistic injury. She literally could not compute that he rejected her. And the reason this rejection bypasses all her emotional defenses is because she is so incredibly used to dealing with and rejecting guys she views as beneath her.
Exactly. Think about her daily experience on these apps. She logs on and she is fielding dozens, if not hundreds, of messages from guys she has absolutely zero physical interest in. In her digital reality, she is the ultimate gatekeeper.
She's the monarch.
She is the monarch handing out the rejections. So when she finally matches with a guy she actually views as a prize, a guy who clears her incredibly high bar, she subconsciously assumes the power dynamic will remain the exact same. She assumes he'll be thrilled just to have been granted an audience with her.
But he isn't, because a guy who is that attractive, funny, and engaging on a dating app is living in a completely different reality than the guys she usually rejects. He has his own abundance.
Right, he's a top 5% guy.
He might have matched with someone else the night before who was more his type. He might have just decided he wanted to stay in and watch the game. The specific reason doesn't matter. The point is, he has the power and the ability to look elsewhere.
And he used it.
And when he exercises that ability, it shatters her reality. She genuinely does not know how to handle a man who has the power to walk away from her without a second thought.
It's an incredible look behind the curtain, and it proves a point we've been circling around. Women rarely go for the guys they genuinely want who actually campaign for them.
Rarely ever.
Think about it. The only time a woman experiences that heavy campaigning energy, the double texts, the grand romantic gestures, the desperate attempts to plan a meticulously perfect date, is from guys she isn't actually viscerally attracted to. It's from the guys she views as safe backups. Or worse, completely invisible.
That is the tragic irony of the nice guy approach. When a woman meets a guy she does genuinely desire, she doesn't demand that he campaign for her. She actually drops all her rigid rules.
Oh, the rules disappear immediately.
Right. The rule about you have to wait 3 days to text me, or we have to go to a Michelin star restaurant on the first date, all of that vanishes. She goes with the flow. She makes it easy for him. She hopes he'll naturally move toward a relationship, but she absolutely does not force it because her fear of losing him overrides her desire to control him.
Wow.
And this mechanism reveals one of the most counterintuitive, mind-bending truths in the entire landscape of human mating dynamics.
Which is that clarity does not equal attraction. And this is huge. We are told constantly by modern therapists, dating articles, and society at large that communication is key.
That you have to talk about everything.
Yeah, we're told that we need to define the relationship as soon as possible, that we need to let a woman know exactly where she stands so she feels secure. But the biological reality is that a lack of heavy campaigning from a man, a distinct lack of total clarity, often creates the strongest, most enduring emotional attachment a woman can experience.
It is the immense power of blurred lines. To understand this, we have to look at the neuroscience of how the human brain processes reward and anticipation. The brain is essentially a prediction machine.
Okay, I love this analogy.
When we know exactly what is going to happen, when the outcome is guaranteed, our brain conserves energy and we get bored. Think about it like a vending machine versus a slot machine.
Right.
If you put $1 in a vending machine, you know with 100% certainty you are getting a soda. You don't get a massive dopamine spike when the soda drops. You expected it. But if you put $1 in a slot machine, the uncertainty of the payout creates a massive surge of dopamine.
So absolute certainty kills the dopamine.
Precisely. When a woman has absolute certainty that a man is obsessed with her, when he has campaigned for her and laid all his cards on the table, the challenge disappears. She has won the game, the dopamine stops firing.
And she gets bored.
She gets bored. But when there is ambiguity, when she's attracted to a man but doesn't know exactly where she stands with him, her brain goes into absolute overdrive trying to solve the puzzle. It becomes an obsession. She invests immense mental and emotional energy into analyzing his texts, his body language, his silence.
And that mental investment translates directly into emotional attachment.
Exactly.
And that is such a powerful way to frame it. It's like watching a thriller movie. If the director shows you the monster clearly in the first 5 minutes, the tension is gone. You check out.
Right, there's no suspense.
The anxiety of not knowing when the monster will appear, the rustling in the bushes, the shadows, that is what keeps you glued to the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
And there's a wild, real-life scenario that captures this dynamic perfectly. This is a story about a woman who is still stalking her ex-boyfriend's social media.
Right.
But here's the catch that makes it insane. They dated 5 years ago.
5 years. Half a decade. She is still actively, mentally invested in a brief situation from 5 years ago. That level of psychological anchoring is profound.
It really is. And the way she describes it is so telling. She refers to this as the best relationship she ever had. They dated for 9 solid months. It wasn't just a casual hookup. They spent every single weekend together. She met his parents and his family. They went on elaborate camping trips with his brother and his brother's girlfriend.
Okay, so it looks very serious.
To absolutely anyone looking from the outside, they were 100% a committed couple.
But internally, within the dynamic between the two of them, there was a massive, gaping lack of certainty. The monster was still in the shadows.
Huge lack of certainty. And it all climaxed on her birthday, of all days. They are on this amazing romantic trip, camping out in the mountains. They're in the tent right before bed. The setting is perfect. And the anxiety of not knowing has finally built up so much that she works up the nerve to see clarity. She turns to him and asks, "So are we boyfriend and girlfriend?"
The ultimate bid for absolute certainty. She wants the vending machine payout.
Right. She wants to collapse the wave of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And his response, he doesn't say yes, he doesn't say no.
Yeah.
He looks at her, completely calm, and says, "Why would you even ask that?"
Wow, he completely refused to give her the resolution.
I know. And her reaction is visceral. She completely panics. She gets incredibly anxious. She literally has to leave the tent and walk out into the cold mountain air just to calm her nervous system down. She starts spiraling out of control, thinking, "Oh my God, he doesn't want to be my boyfriend. I'm so stupid. Why did I ask that? I messed everything up."
She feels like she ruined it.
Yeah. And after that night, the dynamic shifts. Things get weird. The relationship slowly fizzles out over the next few weeks. And then years later, while she's casually trying to stalk his profile to see what he's up to, she realizes he has blocked her completely.
And that sudden, unresolved discovery sends her right back into a spiral of confusion and obsession 5 years later. We have to completely dissect this dynamic because it is an absolute masterclass in why traditional, logical dating advice fails men. Listen closely to what she said. This was supposedly the best relationship of her entire life. 9 months of weekends, family time, romantic camping trips. Yet this guy never explicitly asked her to be his girlfriend. He never sat her down, bought her a ring, and campaigned for a commitment.
Wait, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because this is where a lot of guys get stuck on morality.
Okay, lay it on me.
Shouldn't a guy lock it down if he genuinely likes her? I mean, if you're spending 9 months with a woman, meeting her parents, traveling together, isn't it manipulative or at least unfair to not just give her the title of girlfriend? Why are we saying that providing that security actually kills the attraction?
Because you are looking at human bonding through the lens of pure logic and modern ethics, not through the lens of primal attraction. Putting in heavy effort and formally locking it down makes perfect logical sense on paper, but emotionally, biologically, it kills the tension.
Mystery is gone.
Right. The reason this was the best relationship of her life was because the lines were blurred. Because he didn't give her absolute certainty, she stayed in a state of high emotional investment. She was the one constantly analyzing his behavior, wondering where she stood, trying to prove her value to him, trying to be the perfect companion so he would eventually choose her.
She was the one campaigning for the relationship. He flipped the script entirely.
Exactly. When you force a woman to campaign for the relationship, she becomes absolutely certain about you and your high value. If you flip it and you campaign for her, she becomes certain about her own power and she loses interest in yours.
That makes total sense.
When she asked that question in the tent and he said, "Why would you even ask that?" He masterfully refused to validate her anxiety. He threw the ambiguity right back into her lap. And it hijacked her nervous system, that intense anxiety she felt, that adrenaline pumping through her as she left the tent. In the context of romantic dating, the human brain very frequently misinterprets that state of high anxiety and physiological arousal as profound passion and deep love.
It's incredible how navigating that early stage without showing all your cards is so tricky for a lot of guys. It feels unnatural because we're taught to be straightforward. You want to show intent, you want her to know you like her, but you absolutely don't want to surrender your power.
It's a very fine line to walk.
It is. And if someone wants a more structured roadmap for how to progress things physically and emotionally without overinvesting or giving up all your power early on, that's actually something stealth attraction does well. I know some men prefer learning through a structured coaching program, like the framework Richard LaRuina put together, rather than just guessing how to walk that razor-thin line between showing interest and remaining a challenge.
It makes perfect sense that guys would seek out a framework for that. Having a step-by-step system prevents that exact internal panic that causes men to over-communicate and kill the mystery. Because when you look at that camping story, the guy didn't over-communicate.
Not at all.
He didn't write her a 3-page love letter explaining his feelings to soothe her anxiety. He just let the ambiguity sit there in the air. He was comfortable in the silence. And because he was comfortable in the uncertainty 5 years later, she is still thinking about him. She is still wondering what went wrong and trying to solve the puzzle of him.
So what is the actionable, practical advice for the listener here? When a guy is dating a woman and she starts acting funny or distant, or she starts playing these little testing games over text, what is the actual move?
The absolute best move, the ultimate strategy in any dynamic where your value is being tested or disrespected, is the go-away strategy.
The go-away strategy.
It's the power of your absence. If she starts playing games, if she takes 12 hours to respond with a one-word answer, you simply go away. You withdraw your effort and your attention. You don't kick and scream. You don't send a long emotional paragraph explaining how she hurt your feelings or how communication is important to you.
Guys love doing that.
They do, and it's terrible. You don't fight for her attention. You just disappear. You mirror her lack of investment.
I talk to so many guys who kick themselves after a situation fades. They get entirely in their own heads. They overanalyze every micro-interaction. They think, man, if I had just texted differently on Tuesday, if I didn't overreact when she canceled on Friday, if I had just planned a better, more expensive date.
They blame themselves entirely.
Yeah, they blame their own lack of perfect execution.
They do that because they think they can logic their way back into her good graces. They think attraction is a math equation, where if they just input the right variables, they will get the relationship output. But the reality of behavioral psychology is that mistakes do not matter if she actually likes you.
Say that again, because guys need to hear it.
Mistakes do not matter if she actually likes you. If she has genuine burning desire for you. If she views you as a high-value prize, you can say the wrong thing, you can completely fumble a date, you can spill wine on her shoes, and she will still work to move past the mistake. She will actively make excuses for you to her friends.
That is so profoundly true. If she wants you, she will facilitate the interaction. She will make it easy for you to see her. If you find yourself in a dynamic where you have to put in massive, continuous effort just to keep her basic attention, just to get a text back confirming plans, she is not the one.
No, she's not.
She doesn't have genuine burning desire for you. To her, you are just a source of free validation. You are the vending machine.
And this realization perfectly sets up the massive issue with the modern phenomenon of the talking stage. Because if we know logically that putting in heavy effort fails to generate attraction, why do women constantly demand it?
Right.
Why is the cultural narrative still aggressively insisting that men need to plan the extravagant dates, pay for everything, and sweep them off their feet while they just show up?
Well, let's look at how this talking stage actually operates today, because it is actively exhausting guys to the point where they're just checking out of the dating market entirely.
Yeah, they're just walking away.
The common complaint you hear from women now is that talking stages last exactly one day. They say guys will add them on Instagram, react to their stories with a fire emoji to get an ego boost. But the guys never actually step up, take the lead, and plan a real formal date.
Okay.
The women claim they are overwhelmed by all the options in their DMs, and they are just exhausted by the perceived lack of male effort.
It requires a staggering lack of self-awareness for a woman to make that specific complaint in 2026. Let's analyze the digital environment she has meticulously created for herself. She is complaining about shallow Instagram interactions. But if your Instagram is structured as your personal billboard, what exactly is it saying about you as a potential partner?
Exactly. If a woman is constantly posting provocative bikini pictures, curating this flawless, untouchable aesthetic, and acting like a local celebrity with a massively inflated ego, why would a self-respecting man put in the effort to plan a real, thoughtful date?
He wouldn't.
She's broadcasting that she's looking for fans, not a partner.
She has positioned herself as a commodity for public consumption. She is receiving hundreds of messages, likes, and validations every single day from thirsty men. The men who actually have value, The men who are swiping up on her stories with a fire emoji know they're in a sea of other men doing the exact same thing.
They see the competition.
They understand the economics of the situation, so why would a high-value man step into that chaotic arena and try to outcompete 100 other desperate guys by planning a lavish date for a woman who views him as just another number on her follower count?
He wouldn't. It's a terrible investment of his time and resources. He'd throw a fire emoji to test the waters, see if she responds with genuine interest, and if she doesn't engage meaningfully, he immediately moves on to someone else.
Exactly. But women completely misinterpret this male behavior. They look at the fire emoji and think, ugh, men are so lazy they don't even try anymore.
Because she expects the boombox outside the window.
Yes, but they are missing the most critical element that actually inspires a masculine man to invest his hard-earned resources into a woman.
And what is that?
That missing element is cooperative energy. In evolutionary terms, it is the signal that a woman is ready for pair bonding rather than attention seeking. It is what I like to call the "what can I do for you, sir" energy.
Let's clarify what that means in practical terms, because I know that phrase might rub some people the wrong way or sound archaic, but the underlying psychology is absolutely bulletproof. I want to assure guys understand what they should actually be looking for.
It isn't about subservience in a negative, oppressive way. It is about complementary cooperation. It is about a woman bringing a feminine, helpmate energy to the dynamic that balances a man's masculine drive.
Okay, that makes sense.
It means she is actively looking to add value to his life, to make things easier for him, to be a place of peace and support, rather than a source of constant stress, drama, and demands. If a woman actually brought that cooperative, peaceful energy to the table on a first date, no regular high-value man would ever kick her to the curb. He would instantly recognize how incredibly rare that is in today's market, and he would willingly pour all his resources, protection, and provision into her.
I completely agree with that assessment. The narrative that men are just blindly swiping away great women because they are afraid of commitment is a myth. Men are checking out of the dating market because women are showing up to the first date with a massive list of demands, an inflated sense of self-worth based entirely on algorithmic validation, and zero willingness to cooperate.
It's a transaction to them.
Yeah. They want the man to perform, to entertain, to prove his worth financially and emotionally, while they sit back with their arms crossed and judge his performance. It's a fundamentally antagonistic dynamic.
And when a man encounters that non-cooperative, demanding, antagonistic energy, he does the only logical thing. He withdraws his most valuable asset, the one thing he controls that she actually deeply wants. Exactly. This lack of cooperation leads to a dynamic where men hold back commitment. Women control access to sex, but men control access to relationships. And this realization that men are the ultimate gatekeepers to the relationship is incredibly frustrating for women who have been told their whole lives by society and media that they hold absolutely all the cards.
It's the ultimate contradiction in modern dating. You see women constantly pushing this loud narrative online that men are totally replaceable.
All the time.
They post videos saying, I can get a new guy to buy me dinner by tomorrow, or men hold no power in the dating market, they're desperate. Yet these same women will turn around in the very next breath and complain bitterly, with actual tears in their eyes, about getting breadcrumbed by a guy they really liked.
Let's break down the psychology of what breadcrumbing actually looks like in practice, because it perfectly illustrates who truly holds the power when push comes to shove.
There is this classic scenario that happens all the time. A woman spends a week with a guy, maybe they go on a vacation, or just have an amazing few days together. They have incredible chemistry. They make rough plans for the summer, talk about how much they have in common, and he looks her in the eyes and tells her he definitely wants to see her again.
Sounds promising.
But then he goes home. And from March until June, he just sends her basic low-effort texts. Hey, how's your week? Thinking of you. Just enough to keep her on the hook. But he never actually solidifies plans, takes her on a real date, or escalates the relationship. She feels totally devastated. She goes online and complains that every time she starts to like a man, he shows her why she shouldn't.
I want to zero in on that specific phrase. Every time she starts to like a man.
Yeah.
That phrase right there is the key that unlocks this entire phenomenon. It reveals the brutal truth that completely shatters the female illusion of absolute control. Men do have the ultimate power in dating. A woman can get a man into her bed relatively easily. That just requires physical availability. But getting a man to commit his emotional resources, his limited time, and his future to her is an entirely different game. That requires him to see her as a high-value, cooperative partner.
And when she complains that guys do this to her every single time, she is completely telling on herself without realizing it.
She absolutely is. She is proving, through her own words, that she is actively, consistently choosing to bypass the men who would gladly offer her commitment and treat her well. She is walking right past the guys who would send her good morning texts and plan thoughtful dates.
To get to the guy who treats her like an option.
Exactly. She is specifically targeting the top-tier guys who view her only as a casual, rotational option. She is playing out of her league for a long-term relationship, securing the physical intimacy because the guy is willing to have fun, and then acting victimized and shocked when the emotional commitment doesn't follow.
Which brings up what might be the biggest lie in modern dating, the personality lie. You hear women say constantly, looks fade, personality is the most important thing to me. I just want a guy who could make me laugh and communicate.
We all hear that.
But in reality, when you observe their behavior rather than listening to their words, they are relentlessly chasing the top-tier physical guys who won't commit to them, while entirely ignoring the guys with great personalities who are practically begging for their attention.
This is a classic concept in behavioral economics, stated preferences versus revealed preferences. If a woman's stated preference on a survey or to her friends is that she wants a kind, communicative guy who wants to settle down, but her revealed preference, meaning her actual empirical dating history, is a long string of emotionally unavailable, highly attractive men who breadcrumb her for months. You have to believe the behavior.
Behavior is the truth.
Behavior is the truth. The words are just public relations.
I can hear a guy listening to this getting completely discouraged, though. He's thinking, okay, if women just chase the top 5% of guys and lie about caring about personality, what do I do with that information? Do I just give up on improving myself? Is there no point in being a good guy?
Not at all. That is the wrong takeaway entirely. The takeaway is that you have to play the game based on the reality of human nature, not on the comforting lies society feeds you. Being in shape, having your life in order, having your finances right, and maximizing your physical attractiveness is incredibly important for a man. It is the prerequisite.
Well, it's a baseline.
Right. It gets you noticed. It gets you past the initial algorithmic filters on apps and the visual filters in real life. It gives you that crucial 10 extra seconds to shoot your shot and make an impression.
It gets your foot in the door.
Right.
It gets you to the table.
Right. But you must never forget that women's stated preferences rarely match their actual behavior. You build your value so that you have options, not so that you can finally be good enough to beg a single woman for a relationship. You build your value so you can command respect. Because if you ignore this advice, if you decide to be the nice, safe guy who waits around for a woman while she spends her prime years chasing those top-tier guys who don't want her, you end up in the most disrespectful, soul-crushing dynamic in modern relationships.
This is the darkest part of the whole conversation.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the housewife trap.
Yes.
This is the ultimate cautionary tale for the guy who decides to play it safe, absorb the friend zone rejections, and just wait his turn until a woman is ready to settle down. Because what happens to that guy? He ends up like the pediatrician.
The pediatrician story is staggering. It is one of the most glaring, undeniable examples of female cognitive dissonance and sheer disrespect for the beta provider that I have ever seen publicly admitted.
For those who haven't heard this, there is a real-life confession from a married woman that went viral recently. She is publicly reminiscing about her past, putting this out on the internet for the entire world and presumably her husband's family and colleagues to see.
Which is wild in itself.
Completely wild. She says, and this is a quote, "Back when I was still having sex with men who wore Adidas slides and dirty white socks, if you told me that I'd be married to a whole-ass pediatrician sitting by the fire he built me." And then she proudly declares that her absolute favorite thing about her husband is that he literally turned the hoe into the housewife.
It is breathtaking in its cruelty and its utter lack of respect for the man providing her current lifestyle.
It's insane. She is publicizing her past behavior, romanticizing the guys who gave her absolutely nothing, the guys in dirty socks and slides who probably didn't even buy her dinner, while simultaneously reducing her successful, providing educated husband to a sheer utility. He is a walking ATM and fire builder.
We have to calmly dissect the tragedy of the pediatrician here because this is the psychological endpoint for the guy who overinvests. This is exactly what it looks like when a woman finally settles down with a guy she doesn't genuinely have burning visceral desire for. In evolutionary psychology, this is the dual mating strategy playing out in real time.
Break that down.
He is a utility. He is a safe bet. He is the guy who builds the fire, who provides the massive house in the suburbs, who puts the kids to bed and pays the mortgage, while she sits there drinking a glass of wine, fondly remembering the visceral thrill and the dopamine spikes of the guys who used her and tossed her aside.
He provides the comfortable lifestyle, but those past guys provided the raw passion. And the worst part is, she is laughing at him. She is literally bragging to the internet that this highly educated, successful doctor took on a woman who was running wild in the streets, and he actually thinks he won her.
Yeah.
He thinks he got a prize, and she knows she got a bailout.
This is the harsh, necessary truth that every single man listening to this needs to internalize immediately.
Yeah.
When you put in maximum effort for a woman who acts funny with you, who is distant, who makes you jump through hoops, who treats you like a backup option, she is laughing at you. Not always maliciously, but she views you as lesser. It makes so much sense when you frame it like that. I hear guys say all the time, I buy her flowers, I take her on expensive dates, I listen to all her problems for hours on the phone, and she just acts weird and distant. I feel like I'm competing with a ghost.
You are competing with a ghost. You are competing with the ghost of the guy in the Adidas slides. And the reason she acts weird and uncomfortable when you do all those romantic, heavy investment things is because she knows deep down in her core that she doesn't deserve what you are doing. She knows she gave her absolute best self, her most cooperative energy, her most uninhibited passion to other guys for free.
She gave it away for a "you up" text message at 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you show up at her door with a bouquet of flowers and a reservation at a Michelin star restaurant, she looks at you and thinks, this idiot, he doesn't know how I got down in the past. He doesn't know what I was willing to do for guys who wouldn't even buy me a coffee. I'll make him wait. I'll tell him about my high standards. I'll make him prove himself for months, and his dumb ass will still be there.
She loses respect for you because you are offering a premium price for something she previously gave away at a discount.
That is absolutely brutal to hear, but it is the reality guys need to wake up to. You have to hold yourself accountable as a man. You cannot allow yourself to be the pediatrician in that story. You have to protect your own well-being and your own dignity. Never, ever let a woman look at you like she is better than you, or like she is doing you a massive favor by allowing you to provide for her.
It comes back to the core metric. If a woman genuinely wants you, she will campaign for you. She will make it incredibly easy. She will not require you to jump through a flaming hoop to prove your worth, because her biological imperative will make her terrified of losing you to another woman. If you are constantly feeling like you have to prove yourself, like you are on an endless job interview, you are already losing the game.
This has been incredibly heavy, but so necessary. As we transition toward wrapping up this deep dive, I want to bring up one final psychological difference between men and women that perfectly encapsulates everything we've been talking about. It's something I want the listener to really chew on after this is over. It's the concept of growing on someone.
That is a fascinating dynamic to unpack because it highlights the fundamental differences in how male and female brains process attraction.
It really is. You hear this common female perspective all the time. Women believe that you cannot change a man's opinion of you in dating. They will say, if a man sees me casually, there's nothing I can do to change his mind. I can't perform or be the cool girl and suddenly make him want to marry me.
And generally, as guys, we know that's true.
Right. But then women turn around and claim that a man can grow on them over time. They say, I wasn't attracted to him at first. I friend-zoned him, but his personality just grew on me after 6 months.
Which is an incredibly revealing double standard, and it all comes back to evolutionary biological imperatives and mating strategies. Men and women categorize potential partners entirely differently. Men are highly visual, intentional, and straightforward. Within the first few minutes of interacting with a woman, we know exactly where she stands in our lives. We categorize quickly based on physical fertility cues and initial vibe.
Yeah, we know right away.
Is she a short-term fling? Is she relationship material? Is she just a friend? Once that categorical box is closed, it is exceedingly difficult to pry it back open and move her to a different box.
Exactly. We don't need a woman to grow on us. We know almost immediately.
Right. Women, however, operate differently because the biological cost of reproduction for them is infinitely higher. They need time to assess a man's ability to provide, protect, and commit. So they have a longer assessment period. But you have to be very, very careful with this cultural idea that a man can simply grow on a woman through sheer persistence.
Because it's usually a trap.
It is. Often women use the "he grew on me" excuse, not as a genuine reflection of building passion, but as a psychological rationalization for settling. It is the narrative they use to justify accepting the safe beta provider guy after the alpha guys she really wanted refused to commit to her.
She realizes her time on the open market is closing. She wants to start a family. So suddenly, the stable guy with the good job and the boring life starts to grow on her.
Precisely. She isn't suddenly overwhelmed by visceral desire for him. She didn't suddenly find him physically irresistible. She's overwhelmed by the utility, the safety, and the lifestyle he provides. The danger for men is believing the rom-com lie that if they just hang around long enough, if they just absorb enough rejections, if they play the supportive best friend and endure the friend zone, they will eventually grow on her and win her heart.
So I want to leave you, the listener, with this final thought to mull over as you go about your week. If you ever feel like you have to stick around for months, plotting your moves, enduring the friend zone, walking on eggshells, just hoping to eventually grow on a woman, you are already setting yourself up to be the safe backup plan.
Absolutely.
You are filling out an application for the role of the pediatrician. Don't beg for her validation. Demand cooperative energy from day one, and if she doesn't bring it, exercise your ultimate power as a man and just walk away.
The power to walk away is the only true power you have in dating. The moment you are afraid to lose her, you've already lost.
Absolutely. This has been a massive paradigm shift. Think about your own interactions this week, guys, and ask yourself, are you campaigning? Or are you commanding respect? Catch you on the next one.